Hi. For those of you who are returning, welcome back. For those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Nyla, and I am here documenting my weight loss journey and the path to healthier living. In my previous videos, we discussed all the pre surgical requirements for bariatric surgery and some of my struggles with weight loss my entire life and recently. And today I want to talk about the many ways in which my life has changed since having the surgery. And some of these are small and some of these are very, very big. All right. So, um, before I dive right in, thanks for being here. If you want to follow me in my path, feel free to like and subscribe below if this content interests you. All right. Alrighty. So, way number one in which um, my life has changed drastically since I started this path, or especially since I had surgery, is that I actually count and track my protein intake every day. Um, so yeah, I'm required to have at least 65 grams of protein. Um, they prefer that I have, I believe it was 80. 80 is the goal. Maybe it was 75 is the goal, but 65 is the bare minimum amount of protein that I'm allowed to have in a day. And it gets incredibly important that I keep track of how much of it I've had. Life is still busy, and it's easy to forget to do things like eat when you're eating isn't sitting down at a meal, it's grabbing a protein shake. So I am required to keep track of how much I am consuming. Um, I also keep track of my exact water intake in relation to how much I'm required to have for a day. So, as I said in my previous videos, I have these neat little 8-ounce bottles. I have to drink 8 of them at a minimum in a day. And apologies, there feels like there's something in the corner of my eye. All right, so I'm required to have at least 8 of these a day. That's the bare minimum. After I run out of these water bottles, I will probably go back to my gallon jugs and start using this guy, and I will just measure out, 8, 16, 32. It does hold 64 ounces of water, but I like ice because I have trouble drinking water when it's not cold. So once I run out of the 8-ounce bottles, I will definitely be swapping back to my more sustainable, reusable water bottle. For me right now, because I'm freshly out of surgery, these are just easier. I can't. I think I've left the lid in the kitchen, but so essentially what I do is I just put a number on the cap, and according to my records, I believe this is number 4 for the day, which is better than yesterday at this time. It's about 1:30 my time. So 4 to go. But I am also planning on being outside and walking around a bit today because I'm planning to go to Concord Market Days. And in order to do that, I had to make some special preparations. And one of them is making sure that I have consumed my required amount of water, mostly before we leave. That way, the any I drink after that is extra. All right, so like I said, for now, using those, I'll go back to using my more sustainable water bottle once I'm done, once I run out of them, essentially. All right, so on the same lane as food and water, um, I have to keep a food journal now that details how much water I've consumed, how much food I've consumed. Um, I also use it to track my medication, whether or not I took them. Did I take them in applesauce, which is also a food consumption? Um, you know, what snacks I had, just basically everything. I also generally, use it to track other things, medical, but let's say vastly less interesting things like bowel movements, because I have to know when my last one was. All right, so Yeah, here we go. So basically, this is just like a Clever Fox food sensitivity journal. And I got the food sensitivity journal primarily because later on I will need to be able to track if something caused me to have a reaction. Because whenever you have bariatric surgery, if you consume too much sugar or things like that, it can cause dumping syndrome, which I haven't experienced yet. I'm not really sure what that feels like just yet, but it was not a fun experience according to my mother and entailed some amount of nausea. Um, so hopefully I never will, but it's definitely going to happen at some point. All right, so this is the other one. I take this with me most places. I probably won't want to take it with me to market days today, so I did pre-fill out the times that I am required, like the times that I need to consume my food, because you can see here it gives me a time. So I did pre-fill out the times, and then I just took a picture of it with my phone and set timers on my phone. All right, so um, that's another thing. I track the exact time of my meals. I track the exact time of my medications. And I don't keep track of the exact time of my water. Like I said, I just put numbers on the caps and make sure I consume enough of them. But I do have to keep track of what time I'm eating, what time I'm taking my meds, etc. And again, that becomes important later on to make sure that I'm not having medical issues, and also, I track my multivitamins and things like that. All right, so like I said, it's just a food sensitivity journal from Clever Fox. I love this thing. It's great. I do wish that I don't know if there was a smaller option, but I wish I had gotten something slightly more portable. Um, this doesn't really fit in a purse. Maybe I'll get like a small notebook just to keep track while I'm out and about, and then I can fill it out in this when I get home. So, alrighty. Next is I measure everything that I eat that is not prepackaged in a bottle in ounces. So this morning I made myself a bowl of cream of wheat and I separated it into 3 containers, because at most right now, the most I seem to be able to eat in a setting is about 3 ounces of food. So I essentially measured out, 3 ounce cup of cream of wheat, 3 ounce cup of cream of wheat, 2 ounce cup of cream of wheat. Um, I did add protein powder to those because anytime I have a food that is sweet, I may as well add protein powder to it because it just increases my protein intake, and maybe that means that I will be able to drink one less protein shake a day. So I definitely do that, which kind of conserves my protein shakes. I will say, like, I bought some prepackaged protein shakes when I was preparing to go out for surgery. But I bought a very limited number of them and then bought a giant thing of protein powder so that I can make my own protein shakes moving forward. It's just vanilla flavor as a base so that I can add other flavors to it eventually, perhaps. So yeah, I, you know, whenever you are recovering from surgery, the last thing that you want to have to worry, ooh, my hair is falling there. The last thing that you want to have to worry about while you're also in pain, while you're also trying to recover, is making meals. So I plan for that ahead of time by just buying, like I said, a limited amount of those prepackaged protein shakes. I have Premier Protein, which I like, but to me is a bit overly sweet. My favorite is the Aloha Sea Salt Chocolate Protein. Unfortunately, prepackaged protein shakes are a little on the expensive side. So, and as I would, the Premier Protein has apologies. But the Premier Protein has 30 grams of protein per day, and the Aloha has 20. And so I would need to consume 4 of those per day times 30 days. A box is $28 and contains 28. So to get through a month at a minimum, I would need 4 boxes. So Instead, I bought a $50 few gallon container of protein powder. Um, so yeah, I do kind of miss the Aloha ones. They are less sweet. They are a little bit salty. They are not whey protein, however. They are brown rice protein. But the thing that I loved about them the most is that a lot of protein powder or a lot of protein shakes have a protein powder flavor that I hate. I have some autistic sensibilities about food texture and taste, and that taste is something I do not like. So there's just kind of a, if you've ever had like muscle, what is it, muscle milk or any of those, they all have a protein powder flavor, and I don't like that. So I did like the Aloha ones for that. Highly recommend them if you can afford them. But that's a whole other story for a different day. So yeah, like I said, I do have a big tub of protein powder that I add to a lot of my food. Um, food. Right now, my food is drink, but I also do like I said, preparing for the immediately after surgery phase. I did purchase a small amount of protein shakes, both Premier and Aloha. Mostly, I like the cinnamon roll Premier, and I like the sea salt chocolate Aloha. Alrighty, so now that I'm done having a massive tangent on protein powder and protein shakes, so yeah, I measure everything I eat in ounces. For instance, and I prepared this, put it back in this bowl. Just I'm gonna put it back in the smaller snack containers later. But like, this is roughly 8 ounces of cream of wheat. It does have a scoop of protein powder in it, and later on I will put it in small 3 ounce containers because if I tried to eat all of that right now, I'd get very, very sick. Um, Also, you can kind of feel food, like it's really odd, and this is a new sensation for me, but like when your stomach is full and you're still digesting whatever you've consumed, it almost feels like food is getting stuck in your like esophagus area, like that area where you swallow. So it like feels like it's rising, almost like acid reflux. So we don't want that, so small portions. All right, so when I leave the house, I always carry a lunchbox with me that is pre-packaged with, at a minimum, one protein shake, which is 20 or 30 grams, one protein water, which is 20 grams, at least 4 8-ounce bottles of water, and 2 packets of bone broth that I can just throw into like a, they're like water flavoring, but it's bone broth. And I can just put them in a bottle of water, shake it up, drink it. 10 grams of protein, depending on what I'm in the mood for. One of those things about being on the spectrum is that some days I'm perfectly fine having a vanilla protein shake, and other days, if I have to eat anything else sweet, I will throw it out a window. And I get bored with food really easily, and that is why this period where I'm required to be on a liquid diet has been the hardest for me because the food is very repetitive. Once I'm able to incorporate purees and soft foods and I can branch out a little bit from the protein hell period, as I like to call it, I'll always be monitoring my protein intake and my water intake. But once I can branch out and incorporate different varieties of foods, it will get a lot easier for me. That has really, really been the struggle for me, is that I just can only handle so much of the same thing every day. I used to make lasagnas, and I still make them for my partner who's vegetarian. So I make, he's diabetic and vegetarian. So I make these diabetic lasagna, like vegetarian lasagnas that are made with, zucchini instead of pasta. I can eat that for about 2 days before I'm like, okay, something new, please. You can take these for lunches, but I don't want any more. So that has definitely been the struggle here, and it's been a big one. Um, Another one of the ways that my life has changed is that I eat and drink everything very, very slowly. I never was a huge person to like just drink down an 8 ounce bottle of water, but you'll notice I take very small sips whenever I drink. And it's my stomach is so small now. So I have to be very, very careful. We don't want to stretch it back out. We don't want to make ourselves sick. So, small sips of everything. Oops, sorry. Pardon me one second. I even bought myself some very small spoons, just to help me slow down with the eating. I don't eat anything in big, large bowls anymore. I tend to have very, very small bowls. I actually bought some really cute rice bowls. They're about the perfect size. I also have some 3-ounce ramekins that are kind of perfect, that have little handles on them. And those are kind of perfect for eating soups and stuff out of. So I did get tiny, tiny little spoons to help me slow down with the eating. Before I was using soup spoons, and it meant I could eat my food very quickly. All right. So, another one of the ways that my life has changed is that I have to separate my water intake from my meal intake. So, and this will be a permanent change. So from now on, I'm not allowed to, I have to separate. I cannot have water 30 minutes prior to my meal or 30 minutes after. So I'm not allowed to drink during meals. And it's because it artificially fills up your stomach. And you need to be able to consume all of the nutrients that you need. And it is very easy to become malnourished if you are not tracking all of these things. And if you are drinking water during meals and stuff like that. Largely, because I always have to track everything, it kind of makes me aware of everything I'm consuming. However, right now in this liquid stage, it feels like I am constantly drinking or eating all day long. It feels like I always have something in my mouth, and it's usually water, but it's very different from your 3 meals a day type thing. It might take me 30 minutes or an hour to eat my meal. So it definitely has gotten to where it sometimes just feels like I am consistently having to eat or drink. Um, Such is life. This is just one of those things. I am hoping that that will get easier over time because I am eventually going to have to go back to work and I can't just be sitting there eating. Not in my job. I generally work in an ESD clean room where you're not allowed. I am allowed to have a spill proof bottle of water, but I'm not allowed to have a. I'm not allowed to have food. So, alrighty. The the other thing is that I do not skip my medications or my vitamins. My vitamins are essential right now to my nutrition. And this is not a case where I took them as sort of a health supplement. I liked the health benefits of them. They are now a required part of my nutrition because I'm not currently eating vegetables. It's just protein and water. It's protein powder and water. It's milk. But when you're not consuming vegetables, you're missing out on all the nutrients that you get from vegetables. So I do have to take vitamins every day. I do not take normal, you know, picked it up at CVS vitamins. I take a special vitamin that were designed for pre and post surgical bariatric patients. The brand that I use is called Bariatric Fusion. So these are a multivitamin, and apologies for the noise. They look a little bit like a Starburst. These ones are cherry pineapple flavor. I also have their iron supplements, which are grape. Is it grape or watermelon? One second. Watermelon. And then I also have their probiotic, which are grape. For now, I'm only taking the multivitamin. Once I get to a place where I am a little more once I get to a place where I'm a little more recovered, then I will go back to taking my full whole supplement regimen, I guess. But yeah, that's the other thing is I never skip medication and I never skip my vitamins. For one thing, one of the medications that I take twice a day, helps prevent like gallstones and things like that, which can happen when you lose a lot of weight rapidly. So those are really the big ways in which my life has changed. And these are the practical things. I'm sure there have been emotional changes and things like that, but right now I'm so focused on the practical everyday living that I mostly kind of live by my regiment and by my schedule. And I look forward to the day when I have a little bit more flexibility. But for now, this is the price you pay. So yeah, I do want to say a couple of small updates. When I went into the hospital, I weighed 258 pounds. At my 1 week checkup, I weighed 258 pounds. Now, this was on the doctor's scale. On my scale, I weighed 253. There is about a 10 pound, almost 10 pound difference. It's 8, whatever. Um, 8, 5, 5 pound difference. So on my scale, I weighed, like the day that I went to my doctor's checkup. No, sorry, it was 255. I weighed 255. So there's a 3 pound difference. Today, when I woke up, I weighed myself and I am down to 249.8. So that is some amount of weight loss. I am bad at math. I'm not going to do that in my head. I should have written down how much it was. So that is kind of my current weight. It has been really nice here in Massachusetts the last day or so. I do need to check. Let's check the weather really quick. So yesterday it was 67 degrees. So I went for a walk outside, which was great, but I was still in my pajamas. So today I felt like being human. I got up, I put on makeup, I put on sunscreen and makeup. I mean, did my skincare, but I put on sunscreen and makeup. It's 75 out today, and I know that I'm going to be going to market days later today. So what I'm trying to do right now is not overdo it, because I keep forgetting that I'm only 9. Okay, so if I had surgery on the 18th, whatever, we'll call it 9 days post-op for surgery. And while, yes, I'm supposed to walk, it is really easy to go from, I can do everything, I have all kinds of energy, let's get it done, to, I really need to be horizontal and sleeping right now. That transition is really, really fast. So I have to be careful. I have to pace myself. If I know I have a big activity coming up right now, I need to take it easy. So I'm trying to take it easy today. I made up my lunchbox for market days, and I'm really excited to go hang out with my friend Marilyn. And I'm super excited to just go kind of browse, window shop. I probably won't buy anything. Who knows? We'll see. It depends what I find. So, but yeah, I will say that, like, this is going to be the first big event that I go out to. And this is the thing that worries me, is like, I'm going out to this big event. Am I allowed to carry my water bottle in? I hope. I don't know. I have to remember to drink my protein shakes, drink my water, even if that means walking back to the car to get them. So, yeah. I am definitely going to take my lunchbox, and we'll see what happens. Maybe I can just put it all in a backpack or something. Purse. I don't really own a purse large enough for that, but maybe like I do have a small backpack, so maybe I can put it all in a backpack instead of my actual lunchbox. Maybe that'll make it easier. So anyway, a little nervous about that, just because, like I said, I tend to fall off the wagon a little bit whenever I go out and about doing things and I'm not paying 100% attention to what I'm doing. I will say, now that I'm thinking about, one other way that my life has changed is that I have become more aware of everything, right? So because I have to keep track of everything, not just for doctor questions, but because it's important to not overdo it, not underdo it. So I do have to track everything. So because I have to track everything, I'm very, very aware of everything. I'm aware of okay, how many steps have I had today? Is that enough steps? Do I need to take more steps so that I meet my goals for the day? How much water have I had today? Do I need to drink more water? Do I need to drink less water? Do I need to drink another protein shake before I leave the house? Things like that. So, you know, that's kind of where I'm at today is just, you know, because I'm tracking everything, it has made me so very aware of my own behavior, my own activities. So I definitely, I think that's a good thing. It means that I pay more attention to things. Having limited food choices means that I'm making better food choices. Having goals that I have to hit versus goals that I want to hit has made it so that it's a lot easier to meet those goals because I can measure. Like if I have to have 8 of these a day, well, that's roughly one an hour ish, right? For 8 hours. But there's that pesky 30-minute window where I'm not allowed to consume water prior to or after meals. So let's call that 11 hours. So yeah, I'm trying to go about creating a regimented day for myself right now, but I'm also thinking forward to the future when I will have to work. And, I need to make sure that the habits that I'm developing now will also work when I go back to a job. So, all right, those are some of the ways in which my life has changed since I had bariatric surgery. If you made it this far, thank you for being with me on this journey. And, if you would like to continue following along with my journey, please like and subscribe below. And as always, thank you for watching. This is my life in Candid.